Before we dive into today's show, we have to tell you about an awesome event that we're going to be at on Thursday, the 54th annual Roger Bacon Stag. And Andrew, you went there. I wasn't smart enough to get in, but regardless, the Roger Bacon Stag is something that we were at last year with Chad Johnson. Told him he couldn't cover me. This year, they upgraded at wide receiver. Chris Carter is
Ooh,
the guest speaker.
I'm excited, man. It was fun last year, like you said, seeing Chad. You even got some gear at
Oh,
the bid and buy. You should have
all of the
should have had that ready to show off. It was really cool. In fact, James, I have my yearbook here. Never went to a Roger Bacon sports stag until we got involved with Cincinnati Bengals talk. So I can't wait. It's a great time.
Yeah, you can get your tickets again this Thursday, January 16th, rogerbacon.org. You can also get them at the door if you're one of those last minute people, but don't be last minute. Get your tickets now. It's Chris Carter. You're talking about a Hall of Famer. I've never met him. I've never talked with him.
Yeah, you got to behave yourself, man.
Behave myself.
Don't do what James is going to do. Don't go in and challenge Chris Carter to whatever he's
No,
going to challenge him to.
I did challenge Chad last year, and I still don't think he could cover me. And I'm a year older. I don't think there's a chance. The point is, come have fun with us. Enjoy all of the things from, you're right, the auction that they have where they have a bunch of awesome stuff. Jamar Chase stuff, Joe Burrow stuff.
Cincinnati Reds.
We will see you there again, rogerbacon.org, and we'll have a link as well. But really appreciate you for even listening to this spiel, and hopefully we see you on Thursday. Now, Andrew, it is time to get into the show. Let's go. Enter the Jungle starts now.
I'm going to go change.
The 2024 Bengals missed the playoffs for a second straight year. It's time to give a grade. An overall grade, offense, defense, special teams, and the front office. Look out. We're going to get into it right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome into Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. Thank you so much for watching us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. You can catch us weekly on the FanDuel Sports Network as well. We're brought to you by Garage Beer. And Andrew, let's dive in because there is plenty to discuss when it comes to grades. And we are giving out grades. And for those that don't know, Andrew Fox Miller, well, he has a little bit of an expertise in the grading arena.
Yeah.
I won't even say teaching, but the grading arena. And so real quick, cite your expertise.
Yeah, I mean, look, a new year, might as well reintroduce my credentials. That's a fair point, James.
Mhm.
I went to grad school to be a teacher, and I am not a teacher. I did it solely. I spent a lot of money, Xavier University, just to do these segments. It's the only reason I did it. So
Yep.
money well spent, I think. And by the way, I'd be remiss. Happy off season, James. Happy off season to all who observe it. I mean, I know we'd rather be celebrating the month of January watching this team in the playoffs, but silver lining, I suppose, the offseason obviously brings us great discussion around free agency and the draft. Yes, but let's not forget what makes the offseason truly magical, James. We're talking backless suits, cornering prospective offensive tackles at Kenwood Town Center. Who knows what stories are going to pop up this offseason? So silver lining, could be a little excited.
Yeah. Look, we don't go anywhere. I've been trying to tell people we don't go anywhere. There really is no off season. It doesn't feel much different. I don't have to drive to Paycor Stadium. That's probably the biggest difference. Outside of that, the show goes on, and so do the grades. Andrew Fox Miller, who's
That's right.
has just the right amount of qualifications to give a grade for the Bengals. We're going to get into offense, defense, the front office, special teams. But before we do that, let's start with an overall grade for the 9-8 2024 Cincinnati Bengals. They missed the playoffs. They won 5 straight after starting 0-3, after starting 1-4, after starting 4-8. Man, just all about the slow starts. What grade are you giving these guys?
I'll keep this one simple. Look, offense, tremendous, of course. Defense, they showed signs of life, but it wasn't soon enough. Coaching, a mixed bag overall. It's debatable. I'm not going to debate that. I'm giving them a C-. Look, you can say that not making the postseason, not making the Super Bowl was a failure, but come on, by that logic, we're on the same level as the Browns. I can't accept that. You finished 9-8, and despite the fact that you shouldn't have been in the position to need every game to matter in December and January, as a fan, the experience was intense. We can use the word meaningful for basically all 17 games of the season. I'd still rather trade that for a postseason than an interesting regular season, but here we are, C-.
All right, I'm going to give you an L.
Oh,
a big
God.
fat L.
That's
for loser.
That's not even. No.
That's for loser. Oh, that's in the report card.
This is
Fox
some.
Miller,
Yeah, they may have changed some things since I was in
taking
school.
an L. It's the most a C-.
That's right.
Joe Burrow has the best season from a quarterback in Bengals history.
Sure,
Jamar Chase has the best the best in Bengals history. Trey Hendrickson leads the NFL in sacks. He's the only Bengal to ever do that since they counted sacks as a metric.
Yeah.
And they missed the playoffs. It's a complete and utter failure. F-. It's a 0. It doesn't work. It doesn't pass. It isn't at least they were entertaining for 17 games. This isn't 1997. I'm not looking for the Bengals to be entertaining. I'm looking for the Bengals to be elite in January and February. This was supposed to be the year where they go to New Orleans. This was supposed to be the year where they go to the Superdome. Joe Burrow finds Jamar Chase, touchdown. They run it back like 2019 LSU did in the Superdome, winning a title. That's what it was supposed to be. And they didn't even get remotely close. Like, not even close. So much so that when you were putting up your Christmas tree, they had a 4-8 record. 4-8. This team is very much a lot closer to the 2007 Bengals than they are the 2021 Bengals. And I get it. They teased us with 5 straight wins at the end. And I do think that they could have done some damage had they gotten into the playoffs, but they didn't, which makes it a failure. F. They get an F. You get an L. Yes, that stands for loser for those that want the definition. But yeah, the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals are a failure.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, and this is exactly my
point.
Andrew. This is exactly my point from earlier. Look, all I'm trying to say is, I said it myself. I would rather trade it for a postseason. That if by those standards, then okay, James. If you didn't get to the Super Bowl, it's an F. Is that what you're going with? Is that your standard? And that's fine, but I just want to understand
every year they don't
your rubric here. What's going on
with a healthy Joe Burrow? It is an absolute failure. The playoffs. Can you imagine if the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs, or the Bills didn't make the playoffs, or the Ravens didn't make the playoffs, and their star quarterback was healthy? What would we say from afar? We'd say they failed.
Sure.
Steelers fans are saying that it was a failure this year, and they had cornball Russell Wilson.
Then it's a straight pass fail. Postseason or no postseason, straight pass fail. So why are we doing letter grades? It's pass fail.
Cornball Russell Wilson. and he gets them to the playoffs, and Steelers fans are calling that a failure. And by the way, I don't blame them, but at least they made the playoffs. Cornball Russell. Did you see him, by the way, on Hard Knocks? They lose to the Bengals in week 18, and he goes up to Cam Hayward, who's been there, done that in this league at a very, very high level, much higher level than Russell Wilson ever did. And he's like, hey, let's go win the next 4. Okay. Hey, you got to believe. Like 10 seconds after they lost to the Bengals. Hey, Russell, read the room a little bit there, motivational speaker. What a
it was like your beloved Andy Dalton speech.
Let's play fast, let's play physical. That's what they always preach.
It's so much worse.
Because of the context.
Because, they showed him on the sideline, by the way, best in the world 3, best in the world, talking to himself, best in the world 3. Can you imagine? Like, that is, you can think it all you want. You're not even in the top 10 in the world. You're the 4th best quarterback in the division. Why? How is it 4? I think Jake Browning is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson because he's not going to go up to Trey Hendrickson like, hey, let's get these next 4. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, the 2024 Bengals were a failure, Andrew.
Okay.
That's what they were.
All right.
Now, if you want to get into the individual grades, offense, defense, front office.
Well, they all would fail by your standard. They all would.
Well, that's what we're going to do. And there's different. No, the 2024 Bengals were a failure. They didn't make the playoffs. They were irrelevant in January. By Sunday at 8 p.m. when the regular season ended, they were out. They were eliminated. I saw a video of Jamar Chase golfing on Monday. I cannot see that again if Jamar and Joe are healthy. So it was a failure. But what about the offense? What letter grade? I'm sure Andrew Fox Miller gave it an A++++. Find out at the offense, the defense, will grade both. Coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. Let's dive into more grades, specifically the offense. Now, Andrew, after you gave, what did you give? The 2024 Bengals an A? Oh, no, it was a C-. You don't think it was a failure that they didn't make the playoffs. So I'm sure you're going to give the offense an A+++. but I don't know what you're going to give them. So what grade would you give Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and this Bengals offense?
I'm going to give the offense an A-.
Hmm.
I'm going to go heavy-handed, James. Look, I mean, not perfect, I'd say, from a play calling standpoint. There were times I wish they could close out games a little more convincingly, of course. But I mean, what can you say? You've got a quarterback that could have been MVP, Jamar Chase winning Triple Crown, Chase Brown making a name for himself. So yeah, I mean, the offensive line certainly had its downs, but some of that was due to injuries. That might be the thing bringing it down a bit overall. And again, maybe some questionable play calling and whatnot, but it was overall, I'm going to give that offense B+ at worst, but I'm going to say A-.
The tale of two different sides of the spectrum, and it really depends on how you want to attack
I
it. On
know.
one hand, you could say, hey, this Bengals offense was awesome. They were 5 points away from scoring the most points in a season in team history, or averaging the most points per game in team history. And they literally were. If they had scored 24 against the Steelers, they would have accomplished that. They scored 19, obviously won the game. At the same time, the reason I'm giving them a B and not an A, not an A- or a B+, a B, like an 85 out of 100,
Okay.
is because, yeah, Joe and Jamar are awesome. T. Higgins was really good when he was out there. The offensive line obviously needs some work, but it was something you mentioned. Their inability to lean on the run to close out games, their inability to lean on anyone but Joe Burrow putting on the Superman cape in key moments in the red zone, early in games when you're on the road and he's trying to get his bearings against these really good pass rushes. Like, there's a reason Frank Pollock doesn't have a job right now. And that's a big reason why. You need this offense to be married and in good partnership with each other. The run and the pass, Burrow being a hero, which he can do a lot, and also leaning on this offensive line. And by the way, it makes it easier on the offensive line when you don't have to drop back 50 plus times. But that was the best way, the best chance they had to win. That has to change to a degree. Week to week, you can't have Joe Burrow getting crushed. Burrow can't keep taking these hits. It is not sustainable long term. And so, how do you adjust that a little bit? That's how you get to the elite of the elite offenses. And so, figuring out the run game, marrying the two, upgrading guards, the guard play, I think that's why I give it overall a solid B. That doesn't mean that there weren't awesome aspects of the offense. There were awesome aspects of the offensive line, but overall, I'd give it a B.
Yeah, and like you said, there's two ways you can go about it. For the sake of the analogy, grading on a curve, I also look at it as like, look how much they had to overcome with what, especially the better half, more than half of the front end of the season with this defense. Everything that they had to kind of climb uphill offensively to overcome.
Yeah, impacted Joe, impacted a lot of things. Like, I think they have 3 really good offensive linemen right now. Really good. I think Ted Karras has been an awesome pass protector. Orlando Brown Jr., Amari Mims, sign me up. Need new
Yep.
guards. Obviously, offensive line coaches hopefully going to help the run game. We'll see if that happens. But you mentioned the defense. Let's get to the defense. Look, it's a tough spot. It is, because it bleeds into the front office, which we're going to get to coming up in just a few minutes. But overall, this defense, they needed to be average. They weren't average. Average is a C. I do think that they forced turnovers in that final 5-game stretch. That helped. They also had a pick six and a must win against the Steelers, but they gave up 37 points to the Steelers on December 1st after that pick six. Can't happen. It's really tough to do this, but I'm giving them a D-, and that includes Trey Hendrickson arguably being defensive player of the year, because I do think it was that bad. Mike Hilton was a bright spot. And I think that he's going to get paid probably elsewhere. We'll have time to talk about that. But yeah, even with Trey Hendrickson, I just don't know how you look at it and you say, oh, this defense, they did their job this year. Because when the games were on the line, most of the time, they did not get the stops needed. And that started in against New England week 1, went into Kansas City week 2, Washington week 3, and really was a theme of the season up until the final few weeks.
If we were to go by your absurd pass-fail standards of the overall grade you gave earlier, this
You're
would
right.
certainly be a straight fail. This would be the closest I would get to an F. But I'm with
Give
you.
participation trophies out to NFL players that are making millions of dollars. Give out participation trophies. Everyone
Yeah.
gets a ribbon.
That's yeah. Trey Hendrickson gets the same ribbons everybody else. Exactly. No,
Yeah.
look, I said it last week and I'll say it again. Joe Burrow could be MVP. Jamar Chase, Triple Crown. T. Higgins played as well as he's ever played. Chase Brown, makes a name for himself in his second year. I said it after they fired Anarumo. Anarumo's defense made all of that not enough. It should have been enough. Just enough. Yep. And it wasn't. You mentioned Commanders. Yeah, Ravens. Both games against the Ravens. The first game against the Steelers. The Charger. All of it. It just, you can't. I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to actually exact D-. I was weighing between fail and D-, just straight F and D-. But yeah, to your point, Trey Hendrickson is obviously the first thing that comes to mind. There's some glimmer with him there, but overall, yeah, it's borderline failure, of course.
Yeah, I agree. And part of that has to do with the front office. We will get to the front office coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. We are grading the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals. And up next is the front office. Andrew, what do you think about Mike Brown, Duke Tobin, the Blackburns, and the Bengals front office?
This is the toughest one because you have to look at it from a standpoint of what did they do during, if we're looking at the season, but then you also have to consider like past decisions, ripple effect.
Well, yeah. So for the front office, it would be the 24 off season going into the season. So everything they did last year, basically.
Right. And hindsight, 2020, all that. It's a tough one because we talked about it in a previous episode where I don't regret being positive about some of the signings that they had. The reality is, and we've said it before, you're still in a position where you lose DJ Reader. You still haven't figured out a solution to the fact that you've lost Jesse Bates. You're barely hanging on with T until we know what's going to happen with that. But okay, certainly no more than average. I'm going to probably say C-. I'm going to give them below because again, I like the effort. It just didn't work out. And some of that they can't control, but there were areas they could, and it was glaring. And we all said it. What are you going to do about cornerback? Why didn't you draft a running back? That's probably the least of my concerns now that we've got what we wanted, but that serves to my point. Every decision that was made, I liked most of it. There were still holes. Some of it didn't work out for reasons out of our control. I'm giving it a C-.
Yeah. It felt incomplete. And it felt incomplete because Jamar Chase wanted to sign a 4-year extension with them with 2 years left on his deal, and they didn't get that done. It felt incomplete because they let DJ Reader walk, which, okay. And they thought that they could fix it in the draft and not go out and sign 2 defensive tackles. The moment DJ Reader leaves, you got to get 2. You like the idea of Sheldon Rankins because he can bolster your pass rush. That obviously didn't happen. I don't hold that against them for going and getting Rankins. I hold them not being proactive to address defensive tackle again against them, not going and getting a corner. You shouted it from the mountaintops, to your point. And then they have a couple of injuries, and it's like, well, what the heck do you do at corner? They had Lawrence Guy playing for them early in the season. That didn't have to be the case. And so they need to take that extra step, always. You think you have enough at something, go get one more. You think you have enough, go get one more. Be aggressive. They have the resources. And so to me, that mixed with getting it wrong at safety again. They let Jesse Bates walk. They brought in Nick Scott, wrong. They brought in Geno Stone. I get it. He was pretty good in December, wrong. Not athletic, can't tackle, had a couple of interceptions. That doesn't mean because he had a couple of interceptions down the stretch that suddenly he's a good player. I would expect a new defensive coordinator to cut Geno Stone. And so if Geno Stone isn't the answer, if Sheldon Rankins isn't the answer, maybe it's Mike Gesicki. Oh, wait, he's on offense. What did you add? What did you add in the draft that was an instant impact? Chris Jenkins, I like him. McKinley Jackson, I like him. They weren't instant impact guys. They're wait and see as of right now after their rookie campaign. I give them a D. It's rough. Yeah. It's rough because if you get like 1 or 2 impact guys front office wise, if Jermaine Burton is Alec Pierce, you think about it. Like, I'm not asking Jermaine Burton to be Deshaun Jackson. If they draft Jermaine Burton and he's Alec Pierce, where he stretches the field, gives you 6 touchdowns, you win 1 or 2 more games. If you get one more impact guy in the draft outside of your first round pick, and you didn't do it, your second most productive rookie was Ryan Rico. Good find, great. You need more than that. Didn't happen. I'll give the front office a D.
And I guess I give them a little bit of a buffer, maybe not, maybe fair, maybe not, because it goes back down to the classic dilemma of where does it begin and end with front office? Where does it begin and end with coaching? Clearly they're trying to rectify some of that from a coaching standpoint. We'll see if anything pans out, but it is a lot of wait and see. That's probably a big theme that I'm going to want from this team to get past, to somehow break through, especially with the draft. But yeah, you may have to compensate for that in free agency, but it just feels like everything is wait and see. There's plenty of people to be excited about. We just never saw it develop. And again, maybe that's coaching. So maybe there's a little bit of generosity on my end with the C-, but I'll stand by it.
I really need this front office to start watching Cincinnati Bengals talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because did you see over the weekend what happened? Ladd McConkey scoring a touchdown.
Oh.
Did I like Ladd McConkey?
You loved Ladd McConkey.
Troy Franklin. Did he score a touchdown?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did I like Troy? Oh, wait. Meanwhile, right? Like, that's it. You get one more productive guy. It doesn't even have to be on defense, even though everyone's focused on defense. And you probably win one more game. They didn't do it. With 10 draft picks, you could have traded up. You could have done it.
That was another one. That's a good point. Oh, man.
10 picks.
Waiting for that trade that never happened.
Up next, we'll spend about a minute on the Bengals special teams. Do they get an F? We'll get to it next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. And Andrew, I'm going to give the Bengals special teams unit a C. Evan McPherson obviously had a poor season. He would be an F. I think he would agree with that. I think Tyson Anderson should have been a Pro Bowler. I look at what Ryan Rico did, played very well. I thought overall their special teams unit, just statistically, was number 1 in the NFL, by the way, for those wondering. And so in a lot of different categories. So I think overall it's a C. And it would be much higher if Evan McPherson wasn't pulling it down. And
that's what I was going to ask you.
Bobbled.
What do you need to see to bring that up? Is it through Evan? Like what specifically?
Well, it's Evan, and then it's the bobbled snap that cost them a game against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, those are the difference. Like that changes things. It just does. And so you become an average special teams unit when you botch crucial things like that in crucial moments.
I was hovering around C as well, but for different reasons. That's why I was trying to explore the Evan thing. That certainly brought it down. Don't get me wrong. But I think like, you know, Charlie Jones, there were plays.
Huge. No doubt.
Obviously. But
they're good on special teams, but big moments hurt them.
Exactly. And that's it. That's it right there. It just felt like, and I'm not putting this all on special teams, but it does get lost in some of the conversation of you've got a defense that is playing historically bad at times, many times. Mm-hmm. You've got an offense playing historically well. Yeah, could special teams have been that huge difference maker? And again, don't mean to put that all on Simmons' shoulders, all that. Like, I don't expect that. But you're average if you're not truly doing something to make a significant difference in games, significant to potentially swing things. And I didn't see that enough of that. If anything, to your point, I guess McPherson brought it down more than we would have liked.
Yep. That's going to do it for our grades. Make sure that you check us out every single Tuesday on the YouTube channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk. For Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching Enter the Jungle.